So precise. Agak-agak. Today we'll be continuing on the gospel series. We're still talking about what is the gospel. And today we'll be talking about salvation. And means that we are basically somewhere in the middle now. I do think that most probably we will have to, after touching a bit of salvation, we might go back to a bit of fall to show the contrast for us to better appreciate is harmony. We put the legal system, we put people to interpret the legal system, we put police to enforce the legal system, right? So if again, problems and solutions depend. You have to understand the problem before you understand the solution. If the problem is sin, the solution is to remove sin lah. So that's the salvation portion is you remove the sin, then there is no more problem, right? So again, I'm just, this is very surface level of what salvation is to everyone, just based on the word. So in terms of other religions, so each religion has their own concept of life, and they have their solution to that concept. So they have a problem and they have a solution. So Hinduism, do you know what is the problem? Maybe Hinduism would be hard. I think anyone here familiar with Hinduism? Yeah. Karma is an issue in the issue. In Hinduism, problem actually is this thing called samsara, the cycle of death and life, driven by karma. So everyone is stuck in this cycle that you get born and then you die, then you get born as something else or someone else, and then you try to do good and then fail, that kind of thing. So you keep going on and on. And so because that is life, what is salvation for them? Salvation for them is actually liberation. Means you come out of the cycle, and to do that, you are either you be devoted to a god, or you do so much good that karma cannot catch you anymore, that you will kind of like pop out of the system. Then you become a deity. That is, if you're familiar, I might be oversimplifying things, but generally, this is what Hinduism is about, right? If they are Hindus here, most probably they will try to prove themselves. This one may be more familiar. Taoism, what's the issue? You go Christian school, most probably you don't know. If you grew up in a Christian family, maybe not so familiar. Some more? 18 levels of hell. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, maybe one of the issues, yeah. I'm not an expert either. So this one is just based on what I found on the online. Could be that is something that they want to avoid, right? Some 18 levels of hell. Taoism actually they actually try to counter a lot of what is disharmony in the natural way. As in, there is a perfect way to do things, but people do not do things the correct way. So what is the solution? They have to align themselves with the flow of the Tao, the right way. So, sorry? Qi? I don't think so. I'm not sure. Yeah. So it's just the Tao, the loop. Yeah. So in Taoism is disharmony, and then solution is to come back along the way to follow the path. Buddhism. Sorry? Vegetarian is one of the solutions that they solve. That's not the problem. I don't think so. We might think it's. Why? Yes, correct. So the problem actually is desire. You want to eat, in this case, meat. So that is a problem. Also, there is a problem with too much suffering in the world, or this world is very short term. They also believe in rebirth, but the problem more so is because we desire the things that we desire cannot be fulfilled one. So yeah, vegetarian, the solution is enlightenment through meditation and denying the self. So that's why they don't eat meat. I think the higher levels one, they don't eat. That's what Buddha did, right? He meditate, don't eat, and he sit there, he abstained from everything. Then the story is, finally he got enlightened. So that is what Buddhism actually aims for. That you deny yourself all the way until you get enlightened. Yes? Okay. Karma, Buddhism and Hinduism quite related lah. So the karma concept does flow into Buddhism, but simplify the thing to its core. Again, I believe this is oversimplifying almost every religion that I'm speaking on, but you see why the problem relates to the solution. Okay? And all religions will actually emphasize doing good works to earn salvation. Right? So everything to solve the problem, you have to do something. You have to deny yourself. It's an action. You have to go on the Tao. You have to follow the way. That is your action as well. For Christians, what is the problem? Sin. More than just sin. There is guilt. There's a wrath of God. Separation from God. And of course, total depravity. That is the problems that actually for Christians we face. It all caused by sin, but there is quite a bit of issue. Again, I bring bias here to the other religions because this is a Bible study. So, if this is our problem, what is a solution? No more everything. Remove sin. Remove humanity. I would now, the solution for this issue actually is revealed more and more throughout the whole Bible. So, in Adam and Eve, they were cast out from the garden, right? And they were cursed to die. But although they were cast out, that was the solution. But did the problem disappear? No, they continued to sin. People kept dying. So being cast out from the garden did not solve the problem of sin. Noah. People were evil in the sight of the Lord. Genesis 6:4 says this. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. You should look at Genesis 6 verse 4, especially for those reading in Chinese one. This is description of total depravity, basically. Genesis 6:4. Human heart was only inclined for evil all the time. And what was the solution to that? God flooded the earth. He saved of one family, 7 people, and everyone else died. This time, even a lot of creation died, so everything on land was killed. But did that solve the issue of sin? No. We know if you read in Genesis, I think 7, they came, was it 8? They came out of the ark, and then within quite immediately, Noah sinned by getting drunk, and then his son sinned by seeing his father drunk, but instead of helping his father, he went and tell his brothers. So the sin continued to be around, and that wasn't a solution to sin. So being cast out is not a solution. Destroying most of the sinful people, destroying all sinful people is not a solution also, because even the so-called the righteous man Noah also got sin. Can press on Moses. God's people were trapped in Egypt under Pharaoh, so that was the problem. The solution is God saved them through 10 mighty signs and wonders, and these 10 signs actually destroyed Egypt. They lost their army, they lost their Pharaoh, and looking at history, actually Egypt suffered as a nation because of what God did to them. And God appointed, in that solution process, God appointed Moses as a leader. And he gave the laws to the people, and he saved the people, and Moses actually modeled for them to follow after God. But did this solve the problem? No. I mean, immediately they made a golden calf right under the mountain where God was. And then Moses himself also sinned. He couldn't go into the promised land because he sinned. So the problem was not solved by saving the people either. The Judges. The Judges is the book that you have to go to see that men cannot save themselves. So the Judges is known for the cycle. They will sin, then they'll be oppressed by, God will give them over to be oppressed by outside force, outside people. And then when they cry out, God will raise up a deliverer, a judge who will save them, and then there'll be a time of peace. And from the time of peace, people get lax, and then they will start to sin again. So in the Judges, we have 12 judges. Basically, they go around this cycle only. So no, it just proves that relying on people to save, humans to save, is not possible because all the humans are sinful. Kings. Is having a king a solution? There was Saul, David, Solomon. All were appointed to lead, protect, and model righteous living. These were actually your model citizens to follow God. It's like how the king do, you should follow. And how the king do, really the people follow. So the king sin, also sin, and the country just go south, become bad. If the king was good, well, David was one of the best, but he still sinned. All failed. So even having the model, a human model, is not enough. The prophets, God spoke to his people. So having God speak directly to the people through someone, was that a solution? Was that also a possible solution? Well, it still couldn't solve an issue of the heart. That even God speaking to you directly, but if the heart is not changed, cannot happen. And we know from after the prophets keep warning the people, in the end they got exiled. Again, they got cast out from their own country and they came back. Also did not solve the issues, as you saw when Jesus came to earth. His number one opponents were the Pharisees. The Pharisees and the leaders of the Jewish leaders of that time is actually a result of going to exile and coming back. They were very strict on the law, but the heart was still evil. So they are obeying for personal gain rather than their love of God. And in the end, God had to provide the solution wholly. The whole solution actually had to come from God. So the Father had to send the Son. The Son had to pay the price for sin, for all the elect. And the Son lived a righteous life, which was then credited to the elect. So Jesus' life was given to us, so we are righteous. Our sins was given to him, so that he go and died for it. And then the Spirit enabled regeneration and perseverance so that we can accept. The Spirit changes our heart. And that is a solution for Christians. We see actually the whole Bible pointing to, it's not God's failed plans. Yeah, so it's not God testing Adam and Eve. Like, I fail again. Then go to Noah. I fail again. Then go to Moses. No. God is actually showing that somehow through all this, that humans cannot save themselves. He used a long time to do it, almost 4,000 years, I think. But it's actually just to prove to us that we cannot do it on our own. We need God to do the whole process for us, and we can just thank him and enjoy the benefits that we can get from being saved. We cannot save ourselves. But that being said, actually the whole Bible reveals God's progressive plan. If this was to show that humans cannot save themselves. The whole Bible also, there is this parallel story going on at the same time that shows God is actually working to save his people. We know that he called Abraham. He called this person to establish a family that will follow after him, to be a channel for God's blessing to the world. And then he called Israel, Abraham's extended family in a sense, his children, as a model for God's work to save his people. And that we see how God works to save his people, but we also see that there is a failure in terms of they cannot do it on their own, and they will fail to live holy and righteous lives if you leave them on their own. Then we have David, the first king, he was promised a son that would have an eternal reign. Means his son will be an eternal king. And the prophets prophesied that there will be a future hope through the Messiah. And then the Gospels, of course, revealed the Son of God that saved us. And the rest of the New Testament actually tells us of how Jesus saved us in detail, because that act alone was actually very complicated. And it's simple and complicated. How Jesus saved us is he died for our sins. And he gave us his righteousness. That is the very face value how he saved. But if you go deep, you can really, basically all of Christianity has been unpacking what Jesus did on the cross and what God's work has been doing for us. And the rest of the New Testament then shows us how we should live as God's people. Okay? So today is just shallow level of salvation that, what is salvation about? To be saved from something. So that is my lesson for today. But I think more interesting is our discussion. So do form in your groups, but answer this question. So knowing if you're doing evangelism, is knowing your friends' understanding of salvation important when you evangelize to them? Then you, of course, explain. And does the progressive revelation of God's salvation plan in the Bible give you hope? If it does, how does it give you hope? Or it's just information to you? Then, of course, pray for each other. Any questions? I think today's lesson is a bit straightforward. I'm actually avoiding to go into the details because once I start, I have to keep going. So this is like just standing at the edge. Any questions? Okay, then form groups of 3 to 4 people. Then you can discuss these questions.